I always remember my mom said, without knowing about Michelin or without knowing about fine dining or anything, she says, always in your plate, always in your food, try to emulate the colors of the rainbow. With the little skills I have already, with the little English I have already, how can I reinvent myself in this country? Well, I can really be myself and at the same time adapt into this Scandinavian Viking, and then it's going to explode the whole thing.
Lui, thank you for accepting my offer to come in here. Let's just do a very fast 5 minutes for our listeners. If you can do an introduction, who is Lui Lezzi and how did you end up in this industry? Very short, and then we can go through the whole things.
Yes, Lui Lezzi is a Venezuelan gastronomer. I come from the south part of Venezuela. I come from the Amazonian rainforest. And after working there for many years as an adventure tour guide, I got in touch with the Scandinavian people, and that's how I landed in this country. After many years cooking for them, I came here to Denmark and I realized why not. And then I just went to the kitchen school in Valby and then I became a chef.
Okay. We talked a bit earlier and you said you are dividing yourself into two different things. You have the Jungle Tales and you have Lui Lezzi.
Yeah, it's because also about after the COVID, the COVID gave me many lessons, and one of the lessons is to try to personalize your brand, try to create your own personality, try to emulate that and try to maintain it and try to keep it, but at the same time being professional. So then I says, okay, sometimes as Lui Lezzi is a crazy dude doing outdoors experiments and things like that, but at the same time is the kind of more professional and scientific. And then is when I create this Jungle Tales that is kind of like the final product of some kind of storytelling that I have got through gastronomy. So basically that's how I divide myself. Like Lui Lezzi is the personal chef, and then Jungle Tales is all this crazy mindset that I'm trying to join these two worlds from the Amazonian jungle and Scandinavia, bring these two together and trying to build some crazy shit.
Yeah. Man, you have a nice story. You have one of the craziest,
good
crazy story that I've heard it recently, and I'm super happy that you are here and we can share that with our listeners.
Thanks. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And
how did you basically end up in this? Can you tell the story of you being a tour guide and then while being a tour guide moving into food industry?
Well, in the beginning, of course, I didn't know. Actually, still, when I said to my friends back home that I am a professional fine dining chef, they laugh at me because I was always mixing completely crazy things. But the fact of working with so many Scandinavians when I was a young dude down in the Amazonian jungle in Venezuela, working with them, it teach me also to learn from them. Because it's not only to bring them to nature and just show them and give them, because for example, even with the water or whatever simple products like that, if you just give them the same water, the amount of minerals and the amount of nutrients that they have is gonna fuck them up in the stomach. So in that sense, I just start to learn what they wanted in order of creating a nice experience as a tourist guide. So I says, okay, in the end of the night, why not coming with a nice coffee with a little bit of rum and making kind of like a Bailey? Because then is when I learned about this hygge. So I was like, okay, as a chef, I can also develop that. So through tourism, through Danish, through Scandinavia, of course, a love story is around there as a typical Latino. A love story is around there.
How is it?
The love story is, of course, I fell in love with one of those Danish tourists that was completely amazed by our work down in the jungle. And she just told me, like, come for 6 weeks, come for a couple of weeks just to see Scandinavia. That was 24 years ago. So besides that love story, have tell me again, in those moments that the food, it plays a very important role into creating an experience in that time with tourism, right now with the gastronomy and with all these crazy things we are creating here in Copenhagen.
So you brought people to Amazonian forest.
Yes, I had some kind of like an intercultural social things with the schools in Denmark and Sweden and Norway. Also because I am half Italian and half indigenous. So my mom is native from the Amazonian jungle, and that's why the concept that we are going to talk about later on, my concept of outdoor cooking and edible insects and all this crazy back to the roots mindset came to me. Because I grew up, the first time I saw a TV or a camera or something, I was 14 years old. So suddenly I got all these beautiful Scandinavian people. I says, okay, how can I integrate my culture, what I have learned, at the same time with them? So it was there when I showed them my edible insects and things. And then, of course, with this love story, I came back in here and then I just started cooking. So.
Nice, man. So you basically went from there to here. Here you start cooking in various restaurants, and
it was difficult actually, because as an immigrant and as a climber, as an adventure guy, I grew up in outdoors. I grew up in the mountains. I grew up in Alps and nature and rustic tars and things. And suddenly I come to Denmark, that the tallest mountain is 26 meters tall, so I was like, okay, how can I reinvent myself with the little skills I have already, with the little English I have already? How can I reinvent myself in this country? And then, because of my half Italian part, I had a guy who needed to go to Italy. And he says, hey, brother, can you please take care of my pizzeria? I says, man, I don't know anything about pizzas. I don't know anything about cooking. I'm a tour guide, I'm a paraglider, I'm a climber. I don't know anything about this. He said, come on, you can speak Italian, you know how the pizza should taste, you should stay here. The fact is that after 3 months, I stayed there. Actually, I liked it. With the structure I had from the tour guiding thingies and the expeditions that you have to go into the jungle, I kind of translate that into cooking. I structured the pizzeria. When he came back, he says, wow, this is an amazing work. Why you are not a chef? I says, man, I don't know how the fuck should I be a chef. What should I do? And he says, go to school. So he actually pays me the first year of my kitchen education. So then is when I went to Valby, and then is when actually I start to get theory from all the things that endemically and naturally I have learned in my first 15 years of life with my indigenous mom and with my indigenous family, like with nutrients and things like that. I always remember my mom said, without knowing about Michelin or without knowing about fine dining or anything, she says, always in your plate, always in your food, try to emulate the colors of the rainbow. Mm-hmm. If you try to emulate the colors of the rainbow in your plate, with beetroot, with carrots, with all these live colors, you are making sure you are having a healthy meal. So that always stay here, and then when I came here, I got so fascinated about all the theories they were giving me in the Valby school and all these nutrients, and now I understood why my mom was making me eat insects. Since I am 3 years old, I was eating insects, like why? I realized that it's a protein bomb, and then I start to kind of, again, with my heritage from the jungle and with the knowledge that I was getting in these days from the Valby kitchen school, then is when I start to kind of shape my gastronomical personality.
Yeah, you have an extensive portfolio in terms of insects and eating insects and eating insects.
Yeah, insects. Don't get scared. Don't get scared. Because yes, edible insects is something weird, but it's coming. And that's kind of what I am realizing mostly after the COVID, that we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to innovate. We need to, at least in my humble point of view, we need to kind of go back to what we know and get into that and make it even better. Polish. Don't try to become 25 Michelin stars and try to play, of course I love that, with nitrogen and things, because sometimes less is more. Sometimes just the most basic minimalistic thing is what is going to impress and is going to give that detail in your amazing gastronomical experience. So,
what you said right now, it's more or less what you are reflecting into. I believe you have this one as a mantra, which I adopted it as well since I met you. You said, you always says, our future lies in the past, right?
Yeah. But that is, again, is trying to mix these two worlds where I come from, because everything that I go through in the first 15 years of my life, it was basically about sustainability, about recycling, about superfoods. And I didn't know it until I went to school. So it was then when I started all these bumps of lights. Also, after school, after going through Michelin's restaurant and things, I had a trip in the north part of Scandinavia with the real Vikings in Norway. I went to a restaurant that is called Maemo. And what it was fascinating about it, that it was, in that time, there were 2 Michelin stars, but what it was fascinating is that they were serving the food on rocks, and they were going into their ATV snow scooters in the middle of the forest to try to get the most natural and the most fresh garnish and fruits and things to work with. And that was an immediate connection with what my mom told me all the time, where now here we call in the new Nordic movement, like directly from the earth, directly to your table. And it was in Norway when I got amazed, like this guy serving these amazing, beautiful Michelin tasteless explosions on a rock. So I was like, fuck, I can really be myself and at the same time adapt into this Scandinavian Viking. And then it's when I explode the whole thing. And then it's when I just started with these outdoors events that I do, and edible insects. And of course, edible insects attach themselves as well to my concept, because edible insects doesn't look really good in a China white plate. It looks better on a rock. And it was like, okay, this is it, what I'm gonna do. And this is what I'm doing until now.
Yep. So you went to, the whole idea of the podcast is actually to give something back to people like us, people in the industry, bartenders, waiters, chefs that are reaching a ceiling where they say, okay, I've learned, I'm satisfied with my knowledge that I have right now, what I can do next. And your example right now in here, to me, is just mind-blowing, because you have created the whole environment where you as a chef, you put yourself into one place, but you also develop a lot of products. You do consulting, your portfolio is huge. Can you let us know a bit of these products, what we have in here? How did you came up with it? And what
as I said to my kids, never hear an advice from me. But the only advice I can say, this again, I'm gonna tell you about this in a second, but the only advice I can give you is go for it. If you are passionate enough that you believe and make another crazy guy believe in the project that you are going and doing, go for it and fuck it up. Because I'm not gonna teach you anything. I'm not gonna tell you how to be perfect. I'm not gonna tell you how to do things until you try, until you learn. So the only thing is that I can advise you is to be constant passion, because it's gonna be a lot of people, a lot of other projects that is gonna try to obstaculize that dream that you need to do. So that's exactly how I got in here. What I got in here is because, as I said to you guys, I've been working with edible insects with many years. Of course, I wanted to bring that to Denmark. But before the COVID, I think it was a bit too early, because even though I went to the Roskilde Festival selling insect burgers, I was selling roasted insects and infused insects and so on, which it was good. But the reaction that I saw with the guests, with my customers, is that it was more like a one-time experience. And that didn't make me frustrated, didn't make me sad, but it made me more intrigued, more like a challenge. I want to do this for an everyday thing for them. And then I was looking at these Vikings like, okay, eating my insect burgers, and it was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Which actually my friends back in the jungle, they don't believe that Vikings are eating insects and things like that. But I also say, okay, how can I make this, not Vikings, but how can I make this new world of Europe eat my insects? And I use it first, is a thing about mindset. And it's something that the COVID helped me a lot, or helped us a lot, because the mindset needs to be changed. You need to innovate. You need to not going only into a path. You need to have a plan B, plan C, and plan D. But it's not only about the innovation, but it's also about making a good product. And then is when I said, okay, something that they can eat and they can do once and again. And then it came a guy with a burger full of mayo and says, this tastes good, but if you make a beer out of this, I was like, what? 2 seconds. Immediately, look, I get goosebumps and I hear, because it was the customer feedback who tells me that, completely drunk, Roskilde Festival, dude. I went to 15 Roskilde festivals, so they knew that what I was giving them is not because I wanted to, insects. No, I said, this is gonna be healthy for you. This is actually gonna help you sober up, and have good nutrients in order to party a bit longer, So that was my sales approach in that time. So I says, dude, Vikings likes beer. So then he says, I came back home and I started to make kombucha, kefir, fermentation. I got crazy with the fermentation. I went crazy with these Noma projects, fermentation books. I read all of those things and I created this beer. The beer is, I play with it because the tastes are from the Amazon, but the hops, the gear, and even the looks are from Scandinavia. So I create the beer because I said again, it's not only about sustainability, it's not only about that, but it's also about the mindset. When one of these Vikings is gonna drink one of these El Grillo beer, first, they're not gonna be Grillo, edible insects virgins no more, which they're gonna open their mind and they says, you know what, last week I ate some insects, so bring them on. And that's exactly what I want, because it's there where I can come with my chef craziness expertise with all these roasted crickets, smoked crickets, and all those things that I can. And that is being through El Grillo beer. First, because again, it's Amazonian product, but it's something that they recognize. There's something that they open, they have drink this since they are 14, 15, 16. You know, guys, 18 years old, you've been drinking this and you love it. And that's why it's easier for them to change their mind in order of eating insects.
But that's not the first product that you developed. You came with
this
one
is this is the baby. This is the baby product which has actually teach me to fuck it up, because now I got into this beer market. I got into the beer market, and as a chef, as a gastronomer, I have a dream of bringing a beer because it tastes good with the food that we create. I make a gastronomical beer. I make something to be paired with food, with snacks. That is actually what you guys are doing right now in the bar world and in the service. We are unifying all these concepts in order of just giving a fucking great experience to the guests. So of course, it's not only the beer. The big boy is this guy here. I call it the Lollihopper. The Lollihopper is a lollipop made of a grasshopper.
Can you bring it closer to the camera?
Boom. I was about to eat it already.
Just go back a little bit more. Maybe let me block his face so he doesn't. There you go. Okay, that's perfect.
We will get into pictures as well afterwards. So.
Yeah, we'll do.
The Lollihopper, this is my baby boy. Why? Because this was the first reflection of gastronomical, indigenous, shamanic knowledge from the Amazon with molecular gastronomy. You know, because then is when I start to make esferas, when I start to work with the isomalt, when I start to work with high temperature sugar. So it says, okay, it's a lot of people doing all this, but again we go, why we don't go back to the past? Why we don't go back to our roots and see what we have and see how we can, with that is already invented, try to make it better. So then I took this, what we have here is a grasshopper. The beer is made with cricket, it's Ancheta domesticus. This one is the grasshopper. The grasshopper, what I like it because it's more fat. It has more fat, and it has the same as the shrimps or the same as seafood. It has the same kind of exoskeletos, which means that the structure of the grasshopper is almost as a shrimp, which is good because also brings you omega oils. I didn't know anything about this when my mom gave me kilos of those for breakfast. The fact is that now when I designed this, I got all this molecular thing into it, and then I put something, it's called kumache.
Yeah.
I roast the grasshopper, I put a drop of kumache. Kumache is what now in the Michelin world is called fermented koji.
Okay.
The fermented koji in the indigenous world is kumache. Like you guys know, in the old days when we used to do red wine and things with your feet, is because the enzymes, the natural bacteria from your feet makes that kind of balance the fermentation in the wine, in the beer, or in this case of the kumache. So it's a big sauce made of yucca.
Yeah.
They boil it, and then when the lady, the oldest lady of the community comes, spit on the thing. One spit in 60 liters, come on guys. It's gonna be reduced and so on. So the fact is that fermented koji, I put a drop on it, which I call the heart of the cricket. Why? Because first, it's covered on isomalt, but if you can see the isomalt, it has also sesame. Why it has sesame? Because in your mind, in your file recording, you don't have the taste of the grasshopper. but you have the taste of the sesame. You know how the sesame tastes. You know how that umami, natural umami, brings you on and wants to eat more. So what I do is to try to reflect in your brain when you eat the grasshopper, where do I hang from? You hang from the sesame. And then automatically, because I could also say leather, but as a gastronomer, I rather use to get you into a more smooth taste, and then is where you go. So this is the first creature that I have created and I have made Nordic. Now we are using it actually as a garnish for drinks and cocktails. We are using it for desserts. Right now in Halloween, I get many of these sold. First, because it's delicious. Second, because it looks crazily good. Third, because it's healthy. And fourth, because it's Instagrammable. When you eat one of these, you feel like a superhero. You know, you right away you want to show your friends, hey bro, look what I ate. I am helping. You see? Exactly, because you show to your friends, says, I'm a hero, I'm helping the future, I'm eating insects. So in that way, your friend says, fuck you, I want to eat insects as well. And that's the mindset that I want to create. So that's exactly what is doing this. So now, stop talking so much. Cheers. Skål.
Cheers.
Boom.
Very nice.
It's an Amazon sneaker.
No, I don't think you can get that flavors from such a product. I mean, most of the people are skeptical when you are talking about insects. I was skeptical before meeting you. I was skeptical. Fuck crickets, no. But after that, it became more and more usual for me. So now I'm a bit more open to go and do it.
One thing that I'm gonna comment right now, actually, if you are high allergic to seafood or shrimp, I wouldn't recommend to eat insect, because as we talked before, they have the same exoskeleton, they have the same structure. They are basically earth shrimps, you know? So if you are allergic to seafood, do not eat insects. And what I also want to say is that in the 40s, in jails in Europe, they used to feed the people in jail with lobsters because it was the cheaper thing that they will find, and it was just what they will give to them until they realized that it was super expensive. But it's the same with the insects. Or if I mention 15 years ago with sushi, if you say to your grandma or to my grandma that I'm eating raw fish, she will be like, no, bro. You need to fry 5 minutes and 5 minutes, you know, very fried. So all these things that have come as a new culture into your already created food culture, that's what I'm talking about, the mindset. Because again, 15 years ago, the sushi was super crazy coming from Asia as a raw fish and all these things, and we learned to eat it. And right now, if you go and order sushi, it's like 400 or 500 crowns for 15, 20 pieces, you know, because they have learned that it's super healthy, they have learned that it's super nice, it can be sustainable, and so on and so on. So again, it's just trying to innovating and trying to bring new products into the market. And if you're passionate enough and it has a good story and a good marketing and branding, it will be successful. So
when did you knew I'm a chef and now I have so many ideas that I want to make my own stuff?
Again, to me, I don't think that as a chef, you never reach a ceiling.
Okay.
You never reach a ceiling because always has these roof windows, you know, like Mario Bros, where you can go to different worlds and expand or canalize different adventures, different challenge. For example, I became a chocolatier. I says, okay, how a way of, again, working with the insects, something that is super basic and rustic, how can I make that product, instead of hide it away, how can I make it unique, exquisite, beautiful, sexy? What more sexy than chocolate? So again, I didn't see it as a ceiling, but I saw it as an opportunity to study something else. And then I went to Spain, I went to Celle de Can Rock, and I went with Jordi Rock, Jesus Escaleras, on those crazy pastry chefs. And then I became a chocolatier. Now I come back, and again, I'm still with my insects. I'm still with my passion, I'm still with my thing, but with some other knowledge that I got. Even though you think you are in the ceiling, it depends of your passion. It depends of how curious you are. And we all humans have that. You got your iPhone 15 in your pocket, in 3 months it's iPhone 16 and 6 months, because as soon as you get one, you're just like, how can I make this better? And I think that's the ceiling that we reach, and I think that's the challenge that we have in the bartending world, in the kitchen world, in all this service, is that when you feel you are in a ceiling that you cannot learn anymore because you know everything, retire and go and plan some things. Because I think that this industry, it always keep teaching you, it always keep hitting you in a way of you to learn, you to reinvent yourself and innovate and do different things. And who knows that tomorrow I am in a bartending expositions and a competition, and they have to, exactly, because it's a different world, and as soon as you are challenging yourself with it and you are passionate enough, you will learn and you will find people who teach you and show you the way to do better things.
No, of course.
Hopefully.
Of course, and then we chatted as well, like it becomes more and more, or the way that I see it, it becomes more and more that the gastronomy and the mixology are combining, because you meet people.
It's crazy.
And then you start doing crazy projects.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And also the beauty is how the customers has taken it. They have well taken it. Now you can make a drink with beetroot, with cucumber, with mushrooms. I have some friends of ours that make drinks with mushrooms and things. Like, when I saw this kind of thing, it's like, wow, okay, that's cool, because it opens the ceiling. It's like, okay, you think you know everything as a chef, but now the bartenders are using your skills in the bartending. Why you don't learn something about that as well? Mm-hmm. And now I am completely fascinated about it, and that's why I'm trying to come into the world of bartending and drinks and cocktails with my beer, but at the same time open to learn new stuff.
Nice. What would you say would be one of the key skills or the key mindsets of trying to reach the best of you as a whatever hospitality professional you are?
I will say that it's super difficult, but I think it's different aspect. Mm-hmm. I will say that it's the spiritual aspect, without something like Amazonia and ayahuasca hippie guy, but it's also the spiritual aspect, when you feel that you love what you do, the energy that you have, that even if you get, again, punched down, 3 seconds, up again, mm-hmm. So I think it's basically the passion. It's basically in the passion, like loving what you do and going, even that it says, this bullshit, no one is eating now. All my friends are drinking this beer, and it's like, oh, this is amazing. Exactly, I told you. So I think it's about just keep going. Going.
And I mean, that's a mentality, even as a chef, as a bartender, or when you are at your lowest. Because we've been there. You've been there when you were a bit depressed. I've been there when I did not want it
COVID killed me, man. I opened my catering, edible insects. I was going to make a whole shop. COVID killed me. I was like, okay, damn. Now I have to bring the customers to the insects world. But at the same time, it was amazing.
But how do you overcome that feelings when you say you are at your lowest? How do you overcome?
Again, what I said before. First is the spiritual, but then is when it comes the second part, that is the people you surround yourself. Mm-hmm. If it's people that is positive, it's people that is supporting you and helping you, then you don't feel as crazy, as frustrated, or maybe sad or negative or whatever, but then you don't feel as lonely in this travel. So mm-hmm. It's also the people who is around you. And at the same time, with the people who is around you, I will say also economy. Try to save some money, because it's gonna be time that is not gonna be as good as it's going right now. And in those times, for example, in COVID, that we were 2 years with no work, you didn't know if I was going to do an event, yes or no. We were getting a contract for 25,000 kronas for 3 hours, amazing, and then suddenly 1 hour before we're getting canceled. So save money. Why? Because that keeps you going with the project, even though if you are completely broken, it keeps you going with the, why? Because also people need to see that you are constant with your product, that you are actually giving the best out of it. So I will say the spiritual part, the people you surrounded, and the economical part as well. You need some, because sometimes, like you said, sometimes you're gonna be in the shit, sometimes you're gonna be down, without job, or maybe yourself.
Yep.
Yourself says, this is not the thing I wanna do. So you quit and sit yourself like, okay, what the fuck should I do now? But that's the best moment, because if you have a job, you will never find something else. It's the time when you are sitting in your sofa that it comes the idea and reinvent yourself. Fuck, I'm gonna make chocolate, or I'm gonna dance, or what, I'm gonna sing, or whatever. So those three things, bro. Nice. Spirituality, the friends and the people that support you, and economy.
And economy. How hard was it to make this beer? Because you are now in a second year.
In a certain point, it was hard because I'm a gastronomer, and I don't want to make a rainbow brand of beers. I want to create one beer that it goes well with my appetizers, at least with my first two courses. So in that sense, it was difficult because as a gastronomer, I needed to balance the hops, the mosaics with the insects also, the fat and the omega oils that the insect had fuck up my carbonation in the beer, which as well, you need to reinvent yourself, you need to go lower in the process. So in that sense, it was very difficult but very challenging because I was canning some 15 years of my life. I was canning the whole heritage I'm bringing with me. So it's like, wow, if I can can insects and it still make you think about eating the second course that is also insects, that would be amazing. So as a gastronomer, it was difficult, but then that is also something that I would give as an advice that I have also learned not to do with this amount of energy I have, is that you have to delegate.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's like, oh, I need a website, then I have to learn how to make websites. Yeah, you're gonna make an okay website, but you're not gonna make the best website. You're just gonna make an okay website, people is gonna look like, oh, he's starting. So you need to delegate, I realized, I says, okay, I'm a good gastronomer, I have developed something, but as a beer maker, even though I learned all the basic stuff about the beer making and fermentation, I said, well, now I need to go with one of the best guys in order of creating the product. If you're a chef, you know that I'm not arrogant. If you're a chef, you know that I'm not talking much, that I don't give a fuck about Jean Delon. Because the idea of is like becoming better and better every day. That's simple as it is, at least in my humble opinion. So I went and find a collaboration. I found a real Viking dude from Aarhus in the north part of Denmark. He has a nano brewery, which means that it's a very small artisanal, again, keeping the thing as natural, let's say it, as possible. You know, with the concept of back to the roots, and he's using his fermentation techniques and his laboratory, and he's completely crazy. So I started a collaboration with him. It's called Jacob, and he is from Brew 42.
Yep.
Jacob from Brew 42, and he is the guy, actually, as a gastronomer, he's the guy who also kept me in frames, because otherwise this would be a very beautiful Smirnoff something, because as a chef I was like, what about a bit of cinnamon and a bit of this, and I was like, Louis, you need to keep it basic, you need to keep the beer is a beer, you need to keep it traditional, you need to keep it Nordic. So in a way, actually, he kind of, that passion and that challenging and that energy, he kind of like canalize it in order of, with both skills and collaboration, creating this beautiful baby called Grillo.
Okay.
So it was fucking difficult, but it was a collaboration with a guy who already knows a lot about beers, and he gave me the framing for creating this.
And he's your business partner, or
no? He is just my master brewer.
Your master brewer.
Yeah, he's the master brewer. I am the guy who goes like this and make the recipe. I show it to him, and he's like, "This is shit. Go again." And then I try again, and so on. So this is how we collaborate. Sorry, it's true.
No, it's amazing, because I see you are a creative person. Like as a chef.
Yeah, man, I love it.
As a chef, as a bartender, you're always here, there. But who are you dealing alone with the business side, or how do you do it in a business perspective? How do you plan to put it as a business?
I have the three parts that I said before. The good team I have. One of those is my wife, which is actually that person that is giving the structure and the Danish, European oriented business brand. So again, I go with the people that you are surrounded by. But it's heavy because I'm a chef, and it's a whole world about beers and drinks and competition and exclusivity and agreements and so on, which in a way also those big brands obstaculize the way of you to create or being as creative as it is, because then you slap you twice and show you a reality that is really hard. So for example, right now with a Grillo, yes, we are doing ourselves, like I was saying before, we are trying to learn the whole things, but now we are trying to delegate. We are trying to delegate. The first thing, of course, is accountant, because you don't want the taxes and the people being behind your company. So the first thing I do is try to keep everything legal, all the numbers in the right green position. And then with the marketing, because I talk so much and because it's the product of such a storytelling of my heritage and my life, I want to go into it, because otherwise it will be just taken as a beer. And that's why I am creating one beer, because I love it. I love the taste, I love the concept, and I love the story. I love the face of the people when they are drinking it. And for me, it's like a baby. I want to take my baby to school the first day, so that's the same. I want to go to the bars. Also, right now, I'm trying to canalize the beer with restaurants, because as a chef, as a gastronomer, I think that they will understand a little bit more the concept and the mindset of the edible insects in the beer. But it's hard. It's hard. But tomorrow I'm going to do it. But it's hard, Mike.
How hard is to put one product into this competitive market, especially into the beer market in the Nordics?
It's very hard. First, because you don't have a big name. People already tells me, like, right now I need to put your price down. I says, yes, but the beer is amazing. The quality, the products, the hops I use, all the things. When you drink this beer, next day you're gonna be fresh as a piece of salad, papi. You're not gonna have this hangover thingy. See, but I need to put down the price because no one knows your beer. See, but at the same time, when, of course, it's a little bit of about politics, into this. Because when they receive so much benefits, me as a caterer as well, if it's a person coming with a brand that is giving me a fridge, is giving me 3 tables, is giving me a car, is giving me umbrellas, of course I need that, because that's also giving my budget a bit bigger in order of making different experiences. So I understand that part. What I don't understand, or not understand, what I need to, is that the business, our industry opens their mind and check out that is also small, as we are doing now with all this local, that we are trying to get into the local production and things. Check out that is also a new world that also needs maybe one opportunity, maybe not, but that's less them customers and the experience that we will create for them to decide if it's a good product or not. But right now it's about a big contract and about how many millions of millions and blah blah blah, that. So it is really tough, but at the same time, because of the industry is so big and so extensive, is also the industry itself is creating new places underground, let's call it, not underground, but let's call it out of the box, that is also allowing to these crazy projects to come. And those are the ones that I need to find, because they have the place, they have the location, they have the venue, they have the economical part, but maybe they need also some storytelling. They need some good products to go together, and together maybe trying to make a good collaboration. Yeah. So please, double. No, anyways, but it's about of that. It's about reaching the right people, and then suddenly, boom. But it's just keeping the dream and keeping the sales and not go down. As soon as I don't lose money, the dream is on. When my numbers start to get in red, you will see me having tequila with crickets or something else. But as soon as it's green, they keep the dream, because one day maybe you get one of those big companies says, let's try that, it's sustainable, let's try that, it's a different mindset, let's try that. And then suddenly you are boom.
How do you see, let's go back a bit in time, because that's one thing that you mentioned, a lot of storytelling. You told me and us when we were together more stories about the crickets. You told us about more stories about the insects. How is it the Amazonian forest compared to here? Because here, right now, we call sustainability what you in the Amazon, what us in Romania, when we grow up, we called it
necessity.
Necessity, exactly.
It was for need. It was something because I think this is the fascinating things about humanity, is that sometimes without so much knowledge, but what you need is what you find and what you get. So in the Amazon, of course, as you guys all know, you take a handful of earth and it's full of life, it's full of insects, and it's full of bugs and ants and things. And that's the first thing that you try. Because why? Because you are hungry, you are starving, you are looking around like an animal. You know, and when you find things, sorry that it sounds so crude and rustic, but it is true. You know, so primitive. It's like when you are looking something in the jungle and you see things moving, the first thing is like a bird. It's like an anteater. You're just like, wow, what is this? A flower, you see something colorful, something like that, which actually in nature means keep yourself really away from me. That's why it's showing those colors. We humans are like, wow, it's so beautiful. And put your finger in and try to taste it, and that's why you create so many things. But in the Amazon, you see insects. It's different things, because we have also two kind of worlds there in the Amazon. You know, you have the indigenous people where I grew up, that it was really, really isolated from big cities. Mm-hmm. And then you have also the indigenous people that are already touched by development. Those indigenous, they look at me and says, are you stupid? You are in Europe. You have caviar. You have meat. You have pork. You have this and this and that. Why you are eating insects in there? But the other half, the indigenous that they did it because they need it, the indigenous that they do it seasonal, because that's something that is seasonal. The insect for us is not only food. The insects for us also reflects if it's gonna be a storm, if it's gonna rain, if it's going, like, you need to host your strawberries, you need to host your bananas, your mangoes, because all the insects are coming out. It means that they already can feel that it's going to rain and so on. So it's part of your life cycle. It's part of your habitat. And you have so much respect from it, mostly when you eat it. You have so much respect from it that those part of the indigenous that I'm telling you, these communities where I grew up, that is called Maurac in the Canaima National Park in the south part of Venezuela, frontier with Brazil, they feel very proud. They feel very proud because now they know about sustainability, because now they know about superfood. Now they know about proteins and all these essential nutrients that the body needs. And now they feel super proud, as I do, that your mother, your grandmother, and your older generation gave you that as a part of your heritage. And that's why, for me, as a chef, I could have come with acai, cupuaçu. I could have come with so many other things from the Amazon. But to me, the insects represents a lot in that sense. So it's not only food, it's also, if we humans will work as insects, oh my God, it will be amazing. Because they always work together. They're always spiritual, the friends, and delegating. So they're always together and they build so crazy things. Mm-hmm. So for us, it's a big respect. The only funny thing is the insects don't know that the Empire State exists. But it's two different worlds. And those are the two worlds that I want to put together with my gastronomy.
That's completely fascinating, man.
Czak.
So
Yeah, Czak.
It's just a crazy, crazy story. And
I'm a crazy dude. That's why I've been living here in Denmark for 24 years, because you gotta be crazy to be here for so long time, and at the same time being in love with what you do, be in love with your roots and your jungle, being in a place that is a big city and it's getting bigger and bigger. But I said myself, if it's not Copenhagen in Denmark, that is one of the greenest mentality that is in Europe, then I would not be successful with this beer and with this edible insects project. Because Denmark and Copenhagen has this open mind. They have this, I see my kids, I have two kids now, 17 and 18 years old. I have seen in them that they feel the responsibility of help the world, or participating in helping this world. So if it's not in Denmark that you can do these kind of things, actually, if you realize right now, like we were talking about these big companies and industries, Denmark is one of the first ones right now. They are building in Jutland, they are building one of the biggest worm factories that is called In Orm. Yep. And it's one of the biggest worm factories in whole Europe, because they realize, okay, the future is right now, we have to do this, but also the systems, the industry, and the food sanitary food vastules, the control, sanitizing, the regulations needs to study more, for example, with the insects, because so far we have only 3 kind of edible insects in Europe. And they are not sustainable. Why is not sustainable? Because if you want the edible insects, you need to go to Thailand, you need to go to South America to bring them up. So what these guys are doing is emulating the habitat of these guys in order of also making a really different, big step into the mindset, but also making something that is an umbrella species that is not into their food culture, but it means so much that they are bringing it into it, adapting it, and hopefully expanding it. And that's what I would love to, if actually, like they are doing in Wageningen University in Holland and in Belgium, they are studying as much as possible with the edible insects in order of expanding this. In Asia, in Thailand, in Philippines, in all these places, it's more than 150, 200 species insects that are superfood. The same in South America. But in here, because we are in Europe, we don't have that. But that's the past. And now, again, bringing the new past things, bring it into the future and building it around as they are doing. They are building one of the most top-age advanced companies in Jutland, where they are producing insects.
How do you see it going? It's impressive. How do you see it going? Do you see it in terms of schools and structures, like chef schools?
I have, yes. They are open to it, but remember that each culture is very traditionalist. Each culture is always going to go for what they like and what they know. And in the, sorry for what I'm going to say right now, but the Danish cooking structure is based a lot into French cuisine. French, and right now with all this minimalism and no macchiato and all these fermentation things with Asia. So it is difficult, and you just need to implement it.
Pursue it and go.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You said 25 years, 24, 25?
Me in Denmark?
In Denmark.
Yeah, 24 years. I came for 6 months.
24 years, you came for 6 months.
I came for 6 months.
6 months.
Yes, but right now I am very happy because, again, this country has given me the knowledge and the opportunity of bringing my world into here, and also because, like you said, in the schools and other people is getting naturally interested. Right now people is traveling all over, so it's not one person that I have gave my beer to taste. Says, I have eaten insect in Mexico, I ate insects in Thailand, I went and blah 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 blah. So it's getting there into the schools. I have friends in here, for example, in Denmark. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a pioneer, the same as Klaus Meyer, the same as Martin Keller, the same. This guy is called Jakob Rukov. Jakob Rukov, he's one of the pioneers of edible insects here in Denmark. He is a super scientific engineer, something that I don't. But when we met, it was amazing because I had the practice, he has the theory, and we met. And this guy from is called Bog in Denmark. Bog in Denmark. This guy from Bog in Denmark, Jakob, he is taking the edible insects. I took it more into a gastronomical way. He's taking it more into a
scientific?
No, teaching, dynamic, into a more like a schooling way. As you can hear, he's much better spoken than I am. So he goes to a school and he gives this exposition. He has been in the kitchen school in Valby, and as me, he is a warrior and he's trying to do, and every time that I go into a edible insects exposition or a festival or something like that, I always see that is someone that is actually trying to do their piece into it. So I know a lot of people as well in Aarhus that they are doing it into this, transforming the edible insect concept into the schools and using it the same as sushi and the same as other product, using it as the new product. Because, and I don't want to get too much into long stories that you might pretty sure know more than me, but it's huge rumors around the world saying that in 2030, in order of having this kind of like a super ecology, sustainability new brand, you need to kind of have some percentage of ecology and nature into it. So it's a lot of people in Italy, they are already seeing how they can put insect into the pasta. So insect flour into the bread flour, into the wheat flour. So they are, hopefully, there, and I'm not talking about Bill Gates and about the Agenda 2030, so on and so on, but hopefully the people can check out that is actually we need to, instead of just using more resources and more resources to creating more new things, let's try to go back and let's try to what is already done and let's try to make it better. And this is what I am thinking with the edible insects, and I think that is going into schools, and I think is going into the menus. I have worked here, for example, with the police department in Copenhagen. A couple of years ago, it got too expensive for them, but a couple of years ago, they wanted edible insects in all their canteens. So I was doing that consultory for them because they want the proteins, they want to, they want to bomb up, at the same time, they want to eat good. So I was doing this project for the police in Copenhagen, but it got too expensive. Hopefully, as you can see now, that is coming in Belgium with Wageningen, in Holland, in Jutland, and in some other places. They are emulating this habitat to bring these insects into a lower price and still sustainable to bring it easier. Because that's also some, like my work in Instagram, sometimes it's like, okay, I have tasted the insect, I have drink your beer, it tastes amazing. I have a kilo of cricket at home, but what the I'm gonna do with those insects? So it's about that, it's about the culture, it's about teaching them how to do it, teaching them how to roast them, teaching them, or not teaching them, sharing what you have learned with them, what you learned when you were a kid and why and the benefits of it. Because then that natural creativity and mindset of the people will just get also like, I wanna try that. And suddenly the same as wasabi, soya sauce, or different things and ingredients that you have in your kitchen that not necessarily use every day, but you know how they taste and you know when they play good together. So that's my idea with the insects. I don't want to become like a crazy religious guy, eat insects. And yes, of course, let's try to help and save the world and all that. That doesn't mean you're gonna eat 10 kilos of insects a day because it becomes unsustainable. Yep. You are trying to save the world, but it's like a restaurant that it opened these days where it was only an avocado restaurant. Avocado is super beautiful, super food, super delicious, super sustainable, but if it's only avocado, then it becomes unsustainable. So that's the thing about mixing with the culture, that the food culture that you already are in, no matter if it's in Romania, in Venezuela, in Italy, in Spain, or in Denmark, mixing it with it and sharing with them what to do with it. I think it's super important, the same as with bartending and cocktails and service and even waitering. Why? Because after the COVID, people is trying to do what we do professionally, they are trying to do it at home because they have realized that the personal connection, that beautiful experience that we create for them in a restaurant, they are trying to emulate that at home because now they have learned that time is more value because we spent 2 years together in the same apartment when we had COVID. So now they are trying to use that time and learning that. So even waiters, service, cutlery, so much that they have to teach and share. The same as bartending. Now people goes, everybody in the house after COVID, now they are bartenders. They know how to shake it. Super bad cocktails, but they are trying, and that's the idea, to share what we can do in order of them bring them home.
Yep. And in order for them to value more the work that you do, because the amount of time that you spend,
it's not easy.
20, 24 years, 25 years, that the amount of things that you've seen, I think is just fascinating, not only in the insects world, but the whole gastronomy journey. Your whole gastronomy, I'm pretty sure you've changed a couple of places.
And if I can interrupt you now that I am a bit crazy and I'm already thinking about it. Next month I'm going to Australia. Mm-hmm. So it's the first time that I'm going to change to a completely different continent because yes, I am Tarzan from the Amazonian jungle, but the Amazonian jungle's insects are blue. Now here I'm going to Australia where maybe the insects are going to be very beautiful and they have like big teeth or something like that. So that's, again, I haven't been in Australia. I'm going there in December, the 5th of December. I'm going there. I'm already like, can I make mayonnaise with an emu egg? How many liters of mayonnaise can I make with a crocodile egg? Is that sustainable? I'm like, in Australia, for example, they are super good with the edible insects as well. The native used to have the honey ant. Mm-hmm. That is an ant that goes and eat the honey from the panel. And when they eat the honey, he natural ferment the honey in the ant's butt. And that drop of honey is an elixir of taste. So all those things, I want to go to Australia and I want to check because it's a lot more to learn. I haven't reached that ceiling where my mom is indigenous. I was the 15 years of my life in a jungle. Yes, but now I'm going to another place that I'm going to learn so much about edible insects and a different nature that you guys had to keep tuned because I'm going to bring a kangaroo beer. No, not true. But I'm going to bring some crazy things because again, I'm going to see the gastronomy they have in there. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to put it in a blender, make a reduction, and the best of the things that I will learn, I will just connect with our Scandinavian, new Nordic cuisine, and at the same time with my jungle. I'm going to connect 2 jungles now and see where it comes. So, exactly, 2 jungles in this little country. So, let's see what it is.
The line between the jungles, probably Denmark is in.
It's in the middle. It's in the middle, but those 2 jungles, they have a lot of practice, a lot of action, but Denmark has the theory. And that's something that I'm really thankful for. When I went to the kitchen school in Valby and I sit there for 4 years learning about food, I didn't know that it was so much theory about things. In the forest we go, you eat it. Oh my God, you got bad stomach, you poison, you die. Oh, that is not good. Okay, next one. Oh, this is good. That's how you create because of the need that the human has. We don't have a laboratory. You don't have a biologist and all these things. So when it came to school, it's like, wow. So it is amazing, and still my edible insects are in the top 3 activities that I want to keep doing. So it is okay.
It's fantastic, and it's really interesting to see how you say, okay, you've learned in practice, but you came in here in school.
Yeah.
How hard was it for you to take the whole practice that you got it and put it within some frames? Putting within, okay.
It was super hard because I was even getting fired from restaurants. Where I was like, oh, I got some beautiful ants. And the chef is looking at me like, why you're putting ants into my dishes? So it was too much passion. And in the fact of the kitchen school, again, learning about the different elements that it should come into a dish and learning about the different techniques and not overdoing some of the dishes and the products and giving the respect that the product deserves at itself. It blew up my mind. And again, right now that I'm doing all these fermented insects and kumeche, chili sauce and everything, I still get a bigger respect for what I learned before because the whole theory, the whole thing, the whole ceiling that I'm reaching these days, it lied in the past, in what I learned in those days.
Do you believe that the school system put you in a box or teach you, for instance, you have your way of doing it in the jungle, and then they show you their way saying this is the correct way? Do you believe they put you in a box? Or
they don't put you in a box, but they are showing you what the people likes in here. If they have a good mentality, they have made the expertise of what this society likes, and it's called integration. What this is, because it's not about me, it's not about my show. I cannot make a whole acai bowl thing because the people is not used to it. So in a way, I had to come to a place that shapes you and give you that position and that direction. It's a little bit like the Duracell rabbit from the commercial, super energetic, super creativity. Yeah, but what about if you go this direction and this direction and this direction? So in a certain way, they don't box you, but they show you what it works in there. Mm-hmm. In my case, I got graduated in 2013, but in my case, I was very healthy because in my school in Valby, thank you guys again, it had an old teacher / consultant / shaman, that he will just walk around when you are cooking, when you see, he will see your personality, he will see your spark, he will see your style, and he will say, you know what? You are good. What about working with this and this and these guys? Because I think your energy could be going there. So of course they teach you, they box you, but at the same time, they give you the opportunity of expand and multiplying that knowledge that you want to do. For example, he sent me to Dom in Rio de Janeiro, in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. I couldn't go because of something with papers and visa and blah, 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 politics things. But what he saw is like, yes, with all these things, instead of stopping me and saying, don't work with insects, you have to make fresca, he says, you know what? I have a chef, he's a friend, his name is Alex Atala, he's in Brazil, he worked with insects, why you don't go there? So they try to canalize your knowledge in order of, maybe you are the next Einstein or the next crazy dude creating something amazing or the next Kentucky Fried Insects, you know? So you never know. And this guy was the guy looking that spark, that craziness on you and says, no, man, you are too crazy for this restaurant. They are too minimalistic. You are going to get fired. Go to this one, go to this one. And that's exactly what happened to me when he sent me to Brazil, when he sent me to Norway, because in Norway, actually the chef they were fighting to get chef that they were passionate, skilled, but at the same time with love for nature. Because at that time, all the chefs, they just wanted to go to with 15 stars and 25 stars in France. I didn't. I want to go to the middle of the Alps and make elgesuppe. You know, so it was amazing for me. Just the fact that going into my snow scooter as a South American Amazonian dude and picking up plants and Tryntebær, det skal sultes, det skal vi bruke til vores elge. You know, that was like, wow, that's amazing. And that's exactly what I used to do the first 15 years of my life. Going into the forest, picking up the things and tasting it and eating it.
How was it changing now it's a bit on a tangent. Yeah. It's a question, but I have to ask it.
We have the whole day. No worries. I'm getting paid by hour, so go, bro.
How is it changing the climate from the Amazonian forest to going in the middle of the mountains in Norway?
Right now we are making this interview. It's the beginning of November and I already have my winter boots. I have my winter boots until May. I've been living in this country for 24 years. When I arrived to this country, you could be easily in minus 15, minus 12. I hate it. I like the sun, the heat, the salsa, the guaguancó, you know. That is what gives me the energy. But, and this sounds very cheesy, fludebola, like we call it in the kitchen. But when I got my kids in here, when I had two beautiful daughters in Denmark, I realized that I have to put my jacket on. Put your jacket on and shut up and do it, because Denmark is like it is, the cold weather is like it is, and the moment that you feel that you have reached a ceiling, talking about temperature, get the fuck out of here, move to another country. You know, go to the desert, go to another place that is warmer. So right now, the climate is not stopping me, all the things. I think in life you put things in a balance.
Yeah.
You know, like what gives you, what takes you, the pro and the cons. And Denmark for the last 24 years has gave me way more that is what's taking me. Of course, it's taking me the energy of me being in the jungle, paragliding, skydiving, base jumping, all these things I used to do. But it's also, now I know how to ski. Now I know how to do climbing in ice. So it depends, again, not only in the gastronomic, but in the spiritual side that we were talking. Just try to reach what makes you happy and try to adapt it. And I am here. Of course, I get sad, I get depressed as everybody else when the things gets dark and cold, but thanks God you can buy a ticket and get the fuck out of here. Or take a train and go somewhere else that is warmer. You know, you go to South Spain, it's warm, you change your thing, charge your energies and come back in here, because here is where the merengue is.
So you started to say something about conspiracies and theories. Do you want to elaborate more on that one? Because we don't know.
No, but that's the point, that I don't know either. And I have got some haters, actually, where goes to my Instagram and they start to say, you have been brainwashed by Bill Gates and the 2030 agenda. It's like, bro, listen to me, motherfucker. I am doing insects since I am 3 years old. The fact that the politics and the world is changing and changing and going in different ways, that's not up to me. So I have got a lot of people who thinks that I am doing the edible insects just to surf the wave of sustainability. And I have to say, you guys, no, I am not. Why? Because this is something that I know since I am a kid. The fact that Bill Gates thinks that is cool, and the fact that Bill Gates is saying that is something about making all the population eat the same and more equal and things. All those things, I come from a place that is called Venezuela, guys. If you know a little bit about politics and demagogy, you know about Venezuela. On paper, all those things sounds amazing. The problem is when it goes to practice, when it goes to societies, when you come to Denmark and trying to, the same as COVID, put a mask on, put the mask off, eat this, eat that. Humans don't like to be told what to do, you know? So the fact that it is creating an agenda on paper, I think that is amazing. That some people from different part of Europe are trying to check out the undeveloped countries as the place where I come from and says, how can we help edible insects? Should we go out there and try to teach those guys that is not only the gold and diamond that is value in their society, that is also the insects, that is also the more natural things from 500 years ago that is worth. If the people wants to do that, I like that conspiracy. The thing is when it becomes demagogy, when people becomes money and manipulating mentalities and mindset in order of putting you into a box, as you said. And that's what I am against of. I'm doing it because that's what my mom told me. I'm doing it because since the first 15 years of my life, that was my rugbrød.
Yeah.
Min mor sagde, du skal spise det her, værsgo, min ven. Okay? I'm doing that because I grew up healthy. I'm sorry I'm not 190 and super muscular, but I grew up healthy, you know, in the sense that I know that what I'm selling is good. So if other people are hating or not hating, the people who can, they do. The people who cannot, they talk.
Yeah, so that's a good way to say, man. That's a very good way to say. And let's say that let's try to summarize it. Why exactly it's good to eat insects in just like one sentence, so people know exactly, because it's a long discussion, and most of the listeners might listen it or might not listen it.
No, and to be honest, right now, people and a lot of my friends and my hippie friends, they tell me, Lui, you know that in some years you are gonna go vegan, because to be honest, to me as a gastronomer, as a chef, the right direction is just to eat vegetables, because if you really know, but again, it's about sharing the knowledge. If you really know how to get those superfood from vegetables, proteins, omegas, and so on, you don't really need to get anything alive that is insects. In 3 words, where, because again, right now with all these things, people knows way more than what I do. You know, I know how to roast them and eat them, and I know how to make them taste good inside a beer. That I know. The fact is that, what was the question is?
Why is it sustainable, or why you should eat insects?
Sorry, thank you for that. I just went back to my jungle.
No problem.
The fact is, to get a kilo of meat from a cow, you need 8,000 liters of water. To get a kilo, when I said a kilo, of course you're gonna get the whole cow, but portion it, protein-wise talking, to make a kilo of edible insects, which it has 64%, please correct me, 64% of protein content with the meat that is 57. If you have a kilo of the same protein that you got from those 8,000 liters, with the insects you only need 8 liters. Mm-hmm. The carbon emissions, let's not talk about the farting cows. Everybody knows about the farting cows and all the vegans are like, oh my God. The fact is, space-wise, you need so much space for cattle, for cows, for meat. For insects, 3 square meters, you can reproduce and emulate the same habitat and get so much proteins. As I said before, they have more proteins than spinach, more proteins than the chickpeas, more proteins than liver, more proteins than meat. So it is a superfood. They have omegas, as omega oils. That is why we eat fish, to get this omega-6, omega-12 that is so good for our bones and so on. So why eat insect? First, because they taste delicious. Second, because it's healthy. And third, because living in Europe, mostly in Denmark, where it's so small space for pork production or meat production, edible insects is a very, very, very good alternative to feed your population with some high protein sources and sustainable at the same time. And again, this is the little bit that I have learned from the school, and I have learned from listening to Jacob Rukov, because they know, when you listen to these guys, it's like, okay, he knows the science of edible insects. What I know that is healthy, that it tastes amazing, and they are super, 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 super good.
But
I'm not a hypocrite in here. I'm not a hypocrite, which means that I don't want to sound like a religious person, as I said before. I don't want to like insects or nothing. I know that this is an alternative. This is a tool to help the world, to do good things, to be sustainable, and so on and so on. But personally as well, I live in a place that right now, if I eat only in an insect diet, I will have to be a minister. Because at the way that the structure of the food market and culture in Denmark is not sustainable right now to eat insects. So of course I eat meat, because as you guys can see, I am a bomb of energy and I need the energy. I am a chef and I need my proteins. Of course, I try to balance it as much. I eat so much greens and so much beans, but the time that I eat meat, pork, fish, chicken, first, I enjoy it. I try to make it as healthy as possible. And number three, I try to give the much respect for that animal. Because as I said before in the jungle, we are animals, man. We are looking for eating. And when you are hungry, believe me, when you are really, really hungry in the jungle, you don't care about saving the world. You care about saving yourself. And this is the selfishness of humanity, you know? So in this society, of course, you have insects and so on and meat, but you just try, like when I eat with my kids, we go out or eat a steak. First, we try to eat the whole thing. I show them with the fat, we can do some things. We can do some other things with this. With the bones, we can do some fun and try to use and give respect to that animal to give your fucking life for you, man, to eat and enjoy it and have pleasure.
Nice. So I don't want to keep you in here for such a long time.
It's okay. I thought that it was some insects coming in 20 minutes. We're staying here for the whole night. No worries.
The way that we like to end every podcast, it's with two questions. One question that is made, it's the same, more or less the same question for everybody, and one question that is tailor-made for you. The one that is the same for everybody, we somehow covered it 2-3 times, which is what keeps you motivated while working as a chef, while creating stuff, while working in this hospitality industry. And the one tailor made only for you is it, what advice would you give to somebody who would like now in 2024 or 2025 to start a career as a chef?
Don't. Don't, because, and this is from my heart, I'm very sorry, the industry in a way is prostituted. Mostly with the COVID, we got a little bit of respect. But as we were talking before, people don't have idea how difficult it is to be behind the kitchen, how difficult it is psychologically and physically to walk 15, 16 kilometers a day, to have the pressure that the level of the gastronomy is reaching right now, mostly in Denmark, where we have so many Michelin restaurants, where we have so good high standards about the food. The students and the chef are getting depressed, drug addicts, alcoholics, and sounds, wow, he's negative. I'm not negative, I'm realistic. Why? Because it's too much, and sometimes it's so much the industry that you become like a machine of food instead and forgetting away the passion for the food. And the things is you have to learn how to say stop. If you can say stop, then become a chef. Why? Because all the chef, what we want to try to do is to recreate an experience, to try our customers to have a good time. If you can do that, but at the same time knowing that this shit is tough, then become a chef. Otherwise, sell ice creams. Yes. And the question number 1 was?
The question, what keeps you motivated? Why keep working in this industry?
What it keeps me working in this industry is the need. Because you need to work. Mm-hmm. Because you are reaching a certain age where you need to play with the tools you have. Because you need to pay bills, because you have responsibilities, you have projects, and you have payments. So it's what I said in the beginning, this constant human need for a better life, for a better world, for a better thing. That's what it keeps me working. Because if I was super rich, believe me, I wouldn't work as a chef. I would be traveling the world. I would be teaching all and sharing my knowledge with all those indigenous communities, how to do that, how to recycle, how to blow glass, how to sustainable projects, so many other things that you can do in the world instead of being in a kitchen. Which is amazing, being in a kitchen, because you can put in a plate your dreams, you can make art, you can make people mouth orgasm, you can make people enjoy, yes, but it's so much other things working in there. And the amount of stress that right now the level of cooking, of gastronomy is coming is a bit dangerous. So I should say, and that's why I always said, let's try, I'm no one in here, so of course let's go with the 5th Michelin star, but it says, let's stop, let's chill the fuck out a little bit, and let's see what we have in the back. Because we're living in our past so many things that they are not ready yet, and so many things that are so good, and they can be perfected without jumping into more future and future and future and future. Future is amazing, but check out what we have in the past, because that can be the secret.
Good. That's a very nice way
Boom.
to say it.
If I had a mic, I would be like this.
I know. It's. I said it's the last question, but I have.
No
one
worries.
more,
I have time,
more.
I love it. I love it being here.
It's
sharing with everybody what craziness.
Question. You said you become stressed. Do you have a way after 24 years? How do you de-stress?
You want me to show you?
No. Yes.
Because it's super, super, super easy. If you have a house, or if the weather allows you, after you've been having a very long day, take your shoes off, take your socks off, go into the ground and just stand in the ground. It will just, spiritually, of course, it will make you feel like, oh, the day is done. But even physically, like the physics happening, your body will discharge, it will drain the energy, your chakras, your energy will go down, and you will be in contact with earth. If you know about electricity, yep. Positive, negative, but always you need the most important, that is your one, yep. The contact with earth. And to me, I know it sounds like a crazy hippie, but to me, the fact of having a hard day of work with computers, machines, sous vides and things, taking my shoes off, taking my socks, and being able to be on the grass, stepping on the grass for 5-10 minutes, it drains all my bad energy, and at the same time made me, not flat, but makes me calm again in order of taking the next day again. Nice. So my best advice, seriously, if you have a chance, you can even do it if you have a tester. You go a tester, turn on the tester, put the red cable and the yellow cable and touch it. It will give you some frequency. Take your shoes off, take your socks off, put your feet on the ground, have the same tester, and you will see the amount of energy that is flowing through your body. Then you have your own physical answer.
And
that's what my mom told me. Take your shoes and go to the garden. I didn't know. Now it's on a stressful therapy, and some people pay for it. So.
I believe that's the best way to end this podcast, with leaving everybody.
There's some other ways to relax, but let's say drinking a beer, and you know what I mean. There's some other ways to relax that we can talk in the next podcast.
Yes, and what we always tell to everybody, we would like to do this one more time. We would like to do it again.
Thank you.
When we have a bit more experience into production, when we have a bit more experience doing everything, and also seeing what it's next, seeing what happened, recatching up all of the stuff that we did now in 1 year, half a year, who knows?
I will be here, brother. I'll be here first because I like this kind of projects where, again, the people you're surrounded with, always proactive. And second, because just the fact of 1.5 hours of us talking yada, 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 if you guys can have 3 minutes and learn something from this topic, at least from my side, that will be mission accomplished.
Yep.
Because the important is that we share whatever craziness comes from our head, but in the end that you put yourself into this, oh, that happens to me, I'm gonna try that as well. If you do that at least once, then it's mission accomplished, because that's what we're looking for, I guess.
Exactly, that's what we are fulfilled as well. If
Boom.
3 minutes, more than happy,
Boom.
man. Well,
if we got more than 5 views, we did it, baby, we did it. No, but thank you for bringing me here, and whatever it is, you say jump, I say how high.
Jump.
Boom.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of BARVOX The Podcast. This episode was produced by Mihai Paul and I, Manuel Licto, with thanks to Midnight Media Company. Please find us on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you are getting your podcasts. Be sure you subscribe and rate us. Thank you.